All right, we are trying to figure out why these Toyota brakes squeak so badly. I know a lot of people have this problem with like 10,000 miles on their newer cars. I'm going to tell you why I think this starts to happen in these newer Toyotas. Anything TNGA platform and all the new Tundras, everybody's complaining about this problem. So here's the rear pad, and if you look, see in there that the pad's okay on the rears. It's not terrible because Toyota doesn't do a lot of rear biasing on their brakes. It's definitely, I'm just gonna do them because it's like 50 bucks. In addition to that, I'm gonna tell you exactly why I think this is happening. I don't think it has anything to do with grease. I think Toyota's just repairing cars with new rotors and pads while they're in warranty, and then they're just letting people deal with it later. It has something to do with the adaptive cruise control. Looks like we are a 14 millimeter on the calipers. This is what I think is happening with all of these modern cars, anything that has adaptive cruise control. So it's gonna depend on your year and make and model. But if you look there, we're gonna look at the fronts. That's pretty glazed. But what happens is when you set your adaptive cruise control, it's constantly monitoring the car in front of you. And what people don't realize is all these new cars, they're coming with really good, usually ceramic brake pads, better braking systems than what we had before. And then they're finding out that they get like 40,000 miles on their brake pads and they can't figure out why. And if you're going long distances or commuting and you always have the cruise control on, it's good for mileage, but what it does is it's constantly glazing these. So that cruise control system is just constantly just tap, 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 sometimes just barely feathering that, and that glazes these pads. When you're not actually getting on them, these get glazed, and then what happens is when you get this car in reverse, and the fronts are glazed from all this, kind of super light braking that goes on during cruise control all the time, then you go to back up and you have this glazed surface that just hums and vibrates on the rotor. That's what I think is really going on with these cars. Depending on your brand, if you can shut that off, the adaptive part, and just kind of have the old-fashioned cruise control, I actually think this problem will go away with most vehicles and Toyotas especially. That's my theory. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Oh, look at this. She came out to learn.
No, I'm leaving.
What a joy. Oh, you're leaving?
I'll be back.
She's gonna learn. We'll show her what we ended up doing later. Wait, maybe you should come here. You should come here.
Megan's here.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
I knew it would end at an oil change. She doesn't want to do this stuff. Can't really blame her. These Duralast Golds do come with these clips, so you don't have to reuse the clips and clean them. It's nice to have a wear indicator on each one. If you have a problem with your caliper or your piston or something, or it's pushing more on the inside than the outside, it's always nice to know before it becomes a problem. Stick this wear indicator on here like that. Sometimes they come with brake grease, but this is what I use just because it's a little easier. I'm actually gonna add it right to the connection point. That way we're not going too far. I'm just gonna smooth it out a little bit. I don't like a lot of excess grease. So just enough to cover the surface, the point where it's gonna be touching is really what we're looking for. Not a ton, but there is a specified amount on the Toyota site, but honestly, I've done brakes enough in my life. I think this TSB about exact locations for the grease. I don't think the grease location matters as much as adaptive cruise control. I really think that's the kicker, man. So that snaps in. So you have grease here on the underside, and then we're gonna put a little grease on the top as well for each of those clips. So you can kind of get an idea just by looking at this, like, oh, where are they gonna be touching? You can see it's gonna touch there, there, there. There's really like 3 or 4 points of contact. So that's where I'm going to apply some grease. Sometimes I'll just add a little bit to these contact points. It doesn't take much, just something to keep it flowing. Set in there like this. Now this is the rear, so once you get them set in, tucked up, now we're going to compress that a little. So we are going to pop this brake fluid open a little bit. That way when we compress this back, we'll be fine. Now it does depend on your vehicle. You can use C-clamps. You can use all sorts of things to do this. I am going to old-fashioned it with some channel locks and make everybody cringe. And these are all different. If you've got electronic parking brakes or anything else, you can have a different procedure. This is a cable. So see how that just compressed back in there? So now that that's back in there, there's probably a little more fluid in that reservoir. I'm gonna bleed this side first and then the other side and work my way up. It doesn't matter on ABS that much, but I still usually bleed from the rear up. The ABS module in this is actually on the passenger side, so the longest run is probably going to be back to the rear left. I do add grease to these connection points right here, and then I also will add it directly to where this piston is going to compress onto the pad. I just want this to be as quiet as can be without dumping grease everywhere. And then really work these slide bolts. Just make sure they're spinning nice and free. They just need a little work, but they feel fine. They feel like they have plenty of grease in them. You can kind of tell there's not that. This feels like a, you know, fairly new car. It still is. 25 foot-pounds on these. This is a 2018 and that's pretty nasty fluid. All right, we just got the brakes done on this. We torqued the wheels to 80 foot-pounds, and you'll notice no one stayed out here with me, so now I'm gonna have to test this and record at the same time by myself. But keep in mind, your brakes on these new cars with the adaptive cruise control, the reason why you're burning through brakes so quickly, I think, is because you set that adaptive cruise and it's just constantly braking. In addition to that, it's probably glazing your pads a little bit because it's always pushing a little bit, and if you're in heavy traffic a lot, that'll just torch your brakes. You'll be done at like 40, 50,000 miles on your brakes instead of maybe 80,000. So keep that in mind. All right, here we are in the car. Do they squeak? No squeak. I got the windows down. No squeak, just engine noise. Sweet. Let's go bet 'em. Good luck. Thanks for watching.